Good evening, YouTube family. T.O. here with Simplistic Fishing. Hey, tonight we're doing another lake breakdown. This time we're doing Benbrook Lake, which is just southwest of Fort Worth. Should be a lot of fun. It's one that one of our subscribers asked us to break down. So it's, again, a lake I've never been to, but looks like it should be really good fishing. Hey, we've got a lot of different lakes on the list to break down as well. We've had requests for Ray Roberts, Louisville. You know Bob Sandlin's coming up soon. Someone asked me about Athens as well. There's probably some other ones that I'm forgetting as well. I think Lake Worth was one too. So I'll be trying to break all these down throughout the Metroplex and as I fish them as well to hopefully share all of the good stuff with you guys, and hopefully all of us can catch some more fish. So stick around. I got a lot more lake breakdowns coming for you if this one's not your lake. So without further ado, let's jump into this thing and let's talk about Benbrook Lake. All right, so jumping into Lake Benbrook, let's start up here on the dam. And before I do that, let's talk first about the time of year that we're looking at. So I went and looked back at the lake to try to see when it was drawn down the most. And the best image that I could find was October of 2014. So we're going to start with October 2014 and use that to kind of reveal what this lake has to share for us. So I'll just show you real quick on this creek channel what this thing looks like when it's at the normal pool. That's probably about normal pool there. And then what it would look like on the image that we're going to take a look at, which is a lot more drawn down. So let's pull this back. And again, let's start up here at the dam. I'm going to start up here on the northwest side. I did see a nice little rock pile that was right up here off the corner of the dam. So again, if we're looking at this when the water's up, probably wouldn't realize it was there. Probably shows up on your charts as being a hump or something, but there is some really good rock around that. So I would definitely take a look at that area and fish in that area. And then over here, you've also got an additional rocky point right here that comes off. So this whole part in here would be good, especially off the edges of these and then off the edges of these points. So some pretty good areas right in there. And then moving on up here, it did have a ramp that was up here, and then some isolated rock that was right off of this little point right here. You can see pretty good chunks of rock. So always good to take a look at those, especially if you look around, the bank line here, you see pretty much a lot of nothing, but then you've got these big rocks right there. So I could definitely see that being an isolated area that they could be hanging out around. And then moving up here, not a lot on these bank lines to really point out from a waypoint standpoint. This looks like this lake might be a little bit tricky. It might be a little bit more about underwater structure and things like that if the shallow bite turns off, but could be completely wrong. Would love to hear from the subscribers to let me know what you guys think about this lake. Additionally, just moving on here, we got another ramp that's back here. This marina must be super, super shallow. If I was going to go fish that marina, it'd be a little bit challenged just because it's so shallow. But this little side over here, I didn't mark it on Google Earth, but you can see here with my little hand on Google Earth, this deep spot in this marina. That could be a pretty good area right in there just to check out, especially if they're pulling back and looking for just a little bit deeper water before pulling up into the shallow flat. So moving on down here, another boat ramp. A whole lot of nothing on the bank lines you can see here. I didn't see too much that I would need to point out for you or to even waste a waypoint on. There was some debris right here on this point. So you can see it's right off the edge of there. So maybe worth scanning. Might not be anything there, but definitely worth taking a look at. And then if you look at this point, it looks like it might kind of taper out over here. And if it does, take a look at the edges of these points and take a look at, just this area right in here, because sometimes those can be little secret spots that you just don't really pick up very much on just on a regular chart. So then moving down, again, same type of bank line, just kind of muddy with a little bit of grass. There were some shallow rocks that were right here by this park, so that might be worth taking a look at. And then there's a rock pile that's off of the edge over here that's just kind of isolated out by itself. That'd probably be a really good one to go down there, throw the shaky head, stuff like that, see what you can pull off of those rocks. If we look at it when it's more at a full pool, you wouldn't really know that those rocks were down there unless you had a scanning device or something like that to go for them. So it doesn't look like they're that deep, but definitely looks like they're a little bit isolated compared to anything else that's around that area. And moving on over here, there is an old pond, it looks like, that was in here. And these old pond dams can be good sometimes because they have really good breaks on the edges of them. So take a look at this pond dam, especially right in here, in this area right in here. And I can't get a good image on this one, but you can see that they've got a little opening there around the pond, and then the pond dam. You can actually see the break on the pond dam just from this Google image. And then here again, you have a boat ramp. So always take a look at the boat ramps. We talked about that in several other videos. I've actually gone on just a boat ramp pattern on several of the lakes here around DFW and been able to just catch fish doing that. So it sounds really, really simple, but sometimes the simple things are the things that work the best. So then moving on here, got just some shallow areas, shallow pockets, another boat ramp that was back in here that I picked up. Moving on, another boat ramp that was back in that little pocket. Not seeing too much from on the bank line to really point out to you guys. Another boat ramp here. I did like this area back in here though, because you've got a couple different creek channels, and I marked them for you, so you'll have those on there. And again, you can always find these waypoints in the description of the video. So if you want to get that information, just go to the description, click on that link. It'll take you to the Google Drive, and you can download either the KMZ or the KML file. So I believe the KMZ one is the one that's just for Google Earth, and KML will be the one that you use to go and convert to whatever types of graphs that you have. So if we look here, we've got some creek channels to take a look at. A good, nice little shallow flat back here. You can see I went and just marked these creek channels as they come out. You want to be really careful in this area. It looks like there's a lot of stumps. There's another creek channel that comes here. And let's take a look at this when we're looking at it at a full pool. This is where these waypoints really come into advantage, because you'll go back there and you'll see everybody else is fishing this bank line or fishing up here in this bank line, or maybe they not even go back there because that's so shallow they can't get back there with their trolling motor. But if you watch the guys that are good and you watch the pros, or you go out there maybe on a tournament day on one of these lakes in DFW, or even just maybe out East Texas, one thing I've noticed, and you'll notice all those really good guys, they're focused around this creek channel. They're really honed into the creek channels. So anything that they can fish around that creek channel is what they're doing. And then you'll see the weekend anglers and more the novice anglers, they'll go pound the bank. Now, I'm not saying that pounding the bank is not going to work, because this looks like it could be a great area to go and just punch around or flip around the bushes and stuff like that. You might catch several fish. But the odds of catching the bigger fish and the more aggressive fish, or just the bigger amounts of fish, you're going to get those in the creek channels. So again, not trying to get on a little rant there, but just trying to give you guys a little bit of a tidbit there, because it's something that I noticed as I started learning how to fish, that I really needed to focus more on the creek channels and less on the bank lines. So try that as you're learning fishing. You might start to see a lot of more success that way. All right, moving on, we're going to go around this little point. We've got another creek channel down here. So I marked this creek channel for you as well. It starts way up here and goes all the way down. That's pretty obvious right in here, but this area is not so obvious. And when you're out here fishing these and you put these on your graph, just fish all around those points. That's what we do. We'll just set in that pocket, and then we'll just fish around that creek channel that we've marked. We've had a lot of success doing that. So I'm going to move this back to 2014 so we can really see what I was talking about, the creek channel. Now you can see it's very significant. Comes through here, and then a spot that I really like here, and sometimes these can be great spots to go out, drag a Carolina rig on, drag a Texas rig on, things like that, are these old road beds. And you've heard me talk about road beds in the past, that road beds are really like highways for these fish. So make sure to check them out. Never just blow past a road bed. Go and just scan it. It's always worth your time to scan it. Sometimes you'll find some of the best spots on these road beds. So right here, I've lined up a nice road bed for you. Found that over here on this flat. This could be a really good area if you're fishing around this flat or around this creek channel. So take a look at that. There's also a boat ramp there as well. My apologies. I think they're starting to mow right beside my window, so hopefully you guys can't hear that. We've also got another road bed that comes through here. So take a look at that. Again, the same concept we were talking about earlier, follow the road bed, scan the entire road bed, and see if you can find the fish in that area. Then also we've got another boat ramp back here, and then a creek channel that runs all the way through here, through the back of this channel. And, let's look at it again, just so you guys can get a visual here of what it's going to look like when you go out there. It's going to be more like, probably like 2016. more like this. So you'll start to see the creek channel as you get further back in there. So I didn't really mark those, but really when you get out here, these are the good areas because you can get in that little bit of deeper water, 6 to 10 foot, something like that, and that's when you really start catching the bigger girls and the bigger fish. So stay out here in these creek channels, fish these creek channels, take advantage of what you have for the waypoints. Another boat ramp here, and then coming over here, there's a nice creek channel that runs back in here that is really kind of difficult to see. But if I run it back to 2014, you can see that creek channel really bends in there, and it bends really, really good right here along this side. So I'm going to scroll in here so you can really see this. So there's the creek channel. It runs through here and then coughs out on that side. You've also got another boat ramp here, and then you've got some debris that's down here on the side too that I would definitely take a look at. It's some kind of a hard spot. It could be logs, something like that, but I'm not sure. It looks like it could be rocks too. So I went ahead and just marked that as debris. And then moving up here, we've got some additional debris that's off of this little secondary point here. We got some more debris up in here. This looks like maybe an old dock or something. I can't really tell what it is, but if I pull up the, if I change the dates and really draw the water up, of course, 2015 is when they had floods. So 2016 would be normal. It's hidden underneath there. And these little spots like that, they can be little honey holes because those fish really love to get around that cover. And that's something special. It looks like if it's wood, that'd be even better. If it's metal, that's still good. But if that's wood, that could be a really, really good spot to take a look at. And it's really kind of off the beaten path, not something people would be looking for. You've also got some rocky points. So some rocks all around this bank line here to take a look at. And then back in this area, you got an old boat ramp too. So take a look at that, especially if you're fishing that boat ramp pattern. And then this was pretty interesting. I noticed that there was a ditch that was just kind of hidden here along the bank line. And you've probably heard people talk about this before, but sometimes these ditches can be like the best honey holes you'll ever find because they're just enough change in the depth that those fish like to hug in there. And this looks pretty good. Now, I could be totally wrong. You could go fish this ditch for, I don't know, 25, 30 days and never catch a fish, and I could be completely wrong. But sometimes, just sometimes, you can hit that magical ditch, and that's the one you're looking for. So maybe this is it. So here's a ditch to fish. It's got pretty shallow bank line. You can see it comes out of there. It's some kind of a drainage ditch and has really created a nice ditch along the bank line. And if we pull this up and we look at it when it's more at full pool, you don't really know that ditch is there. You might catch it and see that there's a culvert there or something that's got some kind of drainage ditch, but you don't notice that ditch comes all the way out here. So that's what I mean by these can be really, really golden spots. So moving on up to up the lake, let's scroll back out here. We're going to look up here. There's another boat ramp here. There's some debris in the back of this pocket that you might want to check out. Could be a good crappie spot too, especially if that's just an old tree or something. You can't tell what it is, but definitely some debris in that pocket. And then we're going to move on over kind of up this bank line. And then we're going to look up right here. We do have some scattered rock that's kind of along this. Now you see it's not very much. It's very, very scattered, but sometimes that can be good. Sometimes you can go up there with the shallow bill crankbait, a square bill crankbait or something like that, and just bounce it off those random rocks. And as soon as it bounces off the rock, pause it, and then start to reel it again. And when it bounces off another rock, pause it, and then reel it again. And you'd be surprised at how many fish you can catch just roaming around those rocks looking for crawdads, things like that. Back in here, there was some debris in this pocket. So you can see here, we've got just a little bit back in there. And this is probably the coolest thing I think I've ever had happen on Google Earth. This thing actually captured a plane while it was taking the image. So you can see here that we've got a nice image of a plane flying over this cove. So let me know if that plane's still there. $1 million says it's not. All right, so moving on. That was a really bad dad joke, by the way. Moving on, didn't see too much back here in this pocket or anything like that, but this point definitely sparks my interest. And the reason why is because there's some kind of I don't know if it's an old foundation or what it is, but it's out here. So I marked it on debris. And then you can see there's some rocks, a little bit of rocks hanging around in here. This could be a really good area right off this point to check out. Also on the other side, you've got some debris over here and some additional debris down in here. So take a look at this stuff, because those are really good spots, especially looking at this lake. I don't see a lot of cover for the fish to really hug into. Now that might be because that cover is a lot deeper and I just can't see it on Google Earth. But from the things that we've been able to uncover, this has probably been the best cover that I saw. Or if I were to go out and just had a couple hours to fish this lake, I would probably start here and just look at this debris and see what I could find if there's anything attractive to that. So then moving on down here, we kind of see the same bank line, just not a lot going on. From a waypoint standpoint, I did mark this creek channel back here for you guys. So you'll have that when you're back there fishing that, if you do go back there. And then back here, we've got an additional creek channel that's pretty significant. So this could be a really good one to fish around as well. Excuse me. And then we also talked about ditches a few minutes ago. And if we look here, we've got a really nice ditch here as well. So it kind of comes through here, kind of slivers in through here. This could be one of those good little areas where, everybody else is kind of pounding the bank line. And when they get here, they catch a fish, but they don't realize it. So they just keep going. They don't catch anything. But you just set up here and just fish this ditch and you catch 10 to 15 fish while everybody else is just zooming around you. So again, good areas to take a look at. Could be a magical ditch. Could be totally worthless. I don't know, but I would definitely take a look at it and see if you can catch some fish there. All right, some additional debris out here off of this point, so take a look at it. I didn't mark this one, probably should have. You've really got two different things here. I don't know what those are. It definitely looks like some type of a high spot. I can't tell if it's rock or not. My guess is that maybe those are rocks, but definitely something there, something to take a look at least to go over there and scan it and see if there's any fish or any type of bait fish or anything around it. We do have some additional rocks here. We talked about earlier, these are those shallower scattered rocks. So just go up there with the crankbait, depending on what depth this is. I would imagine this is probably like 2 to 3 feet. So you could probably go in there with the square bill and just pound it off those rocks. And again, every time it hits the rock, pause it, reel it in. And that's probably when you're going to get your fish, when you do that pause, or right when you go to reel it in. So you got scattered rock all along here. So you could potentially just go down that bank line, get parallel to it, get parallel to those rocks, and then just fish those rocks. So what I mean by parallel, obviously, is you're just going to line the boat up as close to the shoreline as you can, and you're just going to get horizontal with it, basically. Here, it's obviously vertical, but horizontal would be if the bank line was going this way. Sorry, getting all confusing here. All right, let's keep moving on. Enough of that stuff. Let's go on up here. We're going to talk about another rocky point. So there are some scatter rocks in here, and there's some really good rocks off the edge of this point. And ironically, there happens to be a guy out there fishing it. So it means that's probably a good spot. More scatter rock in here, another boat ramp. And then as we move on up, we're getting a little bit closer to the dam. In fact, I think we're there. Didn't really see anything else along here. Obviously, the dams are always good to fish. This dam looks like it's got some really good rock and things like that to fish. So I would always take a look at that as well. So, hey, as I mentioned before in the intro video, I will have the breakdown for the Navionics side. So we're going to take a look at the contours of this lake and see what we can find from that side. So I should have that out to you guys on Thursday. Looking forward to talking to y'all soon. Hopefully we'll get to see you out on the water sometime soon. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Leave us a comment and let me know if you have any other lakes you'd like to see us break down. Till next time, tight lines, everyone. Take care.